We got to change the game.
Let's jump in, boys. I am super excited for today. We got Rob Cressy. So for our audience, Rob is my AI coach. One of the best things I love about hosting this podcast is I get to meet amazing people. And one of my old colleagues, Ben Patel, reached out and he's like, hey, you should meet this guy, Rob Cressy. He's awesome. He's an AI coach. So he set us up and I had a call with Rob. It took about 10 minutes for me to realize that I wanted him to be my AI coach. So this is really cool because now we've gone through the whole program and it's been just a fantastic experience and everything that I was hoping for and more. So Rob, thank you for being here and joining us on the show here.
Thank you for having me. I'm 15 out of 10 excited.
Plus you got the voice for podcasts. So you're already set, brother.
I would like to think of face as well, but I've heard the voice.
Yeah. So, Rob, maybe we want to start out before we dive in a little bit about you. We got a big audience from Chicago as well. So maybe you want to fill us a little about who's Rob and how did you get to where you are today?
So I'm Rob Cressy. I'm a husband. I'm a father. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an AI coach, but originally I ran a sports marketing agency called Bacon Sports 15 years ago. When I was living in Chicago, my dream was to get paid to talk about sports for a living. So I turned a sports blog into a sports marketing agency, creating engaging podcast, video content, live streaming, social media marketing. I threw 2 events at Union Station. I love Chicago. It was my dream to live and move to Chicago. I lived there for more than a decade. I still consider it my home, even though I live in Sarasota, Florida right now. Chicago is a part of me. You can hear it in my voice. Flying into Chicago, coming down on the L. Like, I'm legitimately excited just talking about Chicago. But Chicago is what helped bring me to life as an entrepreneur. I remember I was never around big buildings before. I was raised in Pittsburgh. I went to college at Miami of Ohio, and then I moved to Chicago. And I remember my very first time coming to Chicago in the city because my mom's family is from the suburbs. And I looked at the big buildings and they inspired me so much to dream as big as possible. And every time I see the skyline, I feel that same thing. And that energy and that passion is why I show up the way that I do today. And it also manifests in the way that I leverage AI as well as support others to do the same.
So how did you go from a podcast about sports to getting into AI?
So it's simple. So I have no AI background. I have no tech background, and I am not a coder. But I do have a background in being all in on my dreams and goals and vision and making that happen. So when I started my entrepreneurial journey 15 years ago, I went from my corporate job selling digital advertising sales, making a couple $100,000 a year to $0 overnight. And on that very first day of entrepreneurship, I had no self-awareness and no growth mindset. So I was literally as zero as you could get. No website, no clients, no nothing. So every day for 15 years in a row, my goal is to make myself better today than I was yesterday. So I've turned myself into a high performer by doing the work because I was not this person. And this is what was required in order for me to make my dreams happen. So a mentor said something to me that changed my life. Rob, if you ever hope to get paid to do what you love, you better be doing it already. So I wanted to get paid to talk about sports for a living. So what do? You teach yourself podcasting, audio and video editing, being on camera, being a host, social media marketing, essentially learning how to build a media company. So I did that for a decade. I was hired as a host of shows for fantasy sports and sports betting. And then COVID came. And guess which industry got demolished by COVID? Sports. kind of hard to talk about sports betting. There's no sports. And I had an inflection moment. I can either die like the rest of the industry, or I could step into my true calling of being a coach. I never set out to become a coach. It was never on my life vision board or like, I'm going to do this one day or, hey, maybe I'm going to try coaching. Wasn't me. But I naturally just shared my journey with the way that I create content and help people. It's just who I am. I lived this way. So when I finally got hired as a high performance coach to help people be better at business by being better at life, on that very first client, which was in an ad agency in New York, I was coaching their ad sales team. All I had to do was reverse engineer the last decade of my life. How did I do it step by step? So the mindsets, the identity, the ways of being. In Sandesh, as you know, stacking ones over zeros. One, just stacking these things. So that became my business, was high performance coaching, but it just so happens, what's my background? In brand building. So now Rob is a catalyst for growth, mindset and heart set, as well as building your brand. So then we're going to go, what would have been 3 years ago. And I get a text message from my friend Jeff, who also lives in Chicago. And he says, Rob, check out this site called ChatGPT. I click on it. And within the first minute of using it, I felt like I used the internet for the first time. Immediately, I saw the next decade of business and I was all in. All in. I could not believe this was real. You're telling me this is $0? I was already showing up having done the work for 15 years. And this is what you're going to give to me? I was like, game over. Because how many times in life have you heard people say, if only I was there when Facebook started, or YouTube was invented, or Google Ads, I would have made so much money. Ding, 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 ding. This is day 5 of ChatGPT. All in. And because I was already a coach for high performance in brand building, guess what the next layer of growth that was logical? AI. So what I started to do is what a creator does. I just started to share how I was using ChatGPT. And my mindset in this, and this is so important for everybody, because it's what separates me and it takes no effort whatsoever. My goal of using ChatGPT is growth, AKA business growth. So when everyone's like, it told me George Washington went to the moon, I'm like, that's completely irrelevant. How's that going to help me grow my business? Because my goal is to turn $1 into $1.50. So by just simply sharing how I was creating with ChatGPT, so I created a private Facebook group, and then all of a sudden people are just joining this thing. I'm sharing how I'm doing it. I'm legitimately trying to break ChatGPT and push the limits of what's possible. And within 3 months, I'd already been doing one-on-one coaching and group coaching for entrepreneurs, CEOs, and their team. And I haven't stopped for 3 years since.
Well, I think it's cool when you tell your story, because, there's a lot of aspects of AI that, things that are very technical and things like that. But the reality is, like, you can start from zero and learn this and be productive. And some of the skills that you need in that regard are not those technical skills necessarily, right?
1,000,000%. And there's going to be a lot of things that we say that I'm going to make sure to highlight, because I've done a lot of these conversations and I understand what's valuable to people or where people are getting tripped up. Chris, the biggest thing here is seeing your lack of a technical experience as the advantage, not the downside.
Right.
Because, and we all know this, go and have a conversation with somebody in your tech department. How do you think that thing's going to go? Usually it's not very well. Right? Because their tech people speak a certain language and then everybody else speaks another one. Because one of the biggest things in Sandesh, you know this because of how we created, that I try and share with everybody. Everything you need to succeed and grow in the AI era is already inside of you. It has nothing to do with the tech and the tools. It has everything to do with the inputs. So all of your years of experience, the reason I'm great at this is because I've done the work, the mindset, the heart set, the content, the habits, the routines, the everything. And then you just put it in there. Oh, Rob, I just never thought that I could do that. It's like, yeah, it's right there in front of us. But so many people, Chris, allow the fears, the judgments, the self-limiting beliefs, the what I am not, from stopping them from even getting in the game, because I don't have a tech background.
Yeah, well, and quite frankly, a lot of tech folks are starting at ground zero too, because when you're talking about things like prompt engineering and things like that, I mean, you even hear the comment that businesses are going to start looking for people with liberal arts degrees and English degrees rather than technical degrees, right? Because that's the kind of things that we need.
Well, yeah, because it's and Sandesh, you know this as well. I come from a human first, heart first approach. Because when you create with your heart, you win. So what does that actually mean? It's called thinking into the AI. Just take what's alive in you. So if you're feeling stuck right now on what do I put into ChatGPT, here's 3 very simple things that you can do, and think of this as your own menu. Number 1, ask yourself, what's alive in me right now? And just type it into ChatGPT. Number 2, what are your dreams or your goals or your vision? Whatever it is, put it into ChatGPT. And number 3, what are your challenges or pain points or the friction you're feeling right now? Put it into ChatGPT. So alive, hey, this is just what's happening. The big goals and dreams, this is where I want to go. The challenges, this is the stuff in my life that sucks that I don't like. All 3 of them, go and build. It can literally be that simple because it is that simple.
Your philosophy really aligns well with coaching. And for those people that don't know what coaching is, can you just quickly explain the whole concept of an AI coach? What does that mean in simple terms?
A few simple things. Number 1, I want to help you build a foundation for how you think, create, and lead with AI. Because systems scale, and most people do not have a system for how in the world I use ChatGPT or AI. So most people are using AI like Google. They're asking a question, getting an answer, and it's very transactional. But then it doesn't sound like me. I sound like a robot. The results suck. Well, why? Because you have not personalized it. So sometimes, and this isn't anything groundbreaking, if you want to go somewhere, go with someone who's already been there because they might be able to help you do so. So as a coach, that's step 1. I've just seen a lot of things from having the reps of the experience that I can speed up that foundation for you. Because there's a quote that I love: the bigger the dreams, the deeper the foundation. Most people just show up and use it like Google, and they're like, why am I not getting world-class results? Because you've put no effort into this thing. And then number 2, and this is probably the biggest one, is I'm a portal of possibility. So Sandesh, you come and you say, Rob, this is the vision of what I want to create. And I go, great. I'm going to hold that space. I'm going to be that yes and. I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to help you see some things that you're not thinking or you're not seeing. And I am here to be your Sherpa, to be your guide, to be that champion for you so that you know you've got a safe space to create with someone who is all in on helping you be the best version of yourself. And it just so happens he's world-class at using AI.
So for the audience, let me just give a little summary of what the experience has been like for me to work with Rob. One of the things I really, really appreciated was I was using ChatGPT. I've tried pretty much the top 5 GPTs that are out there, and I've started to play around with it. But I didn't know if I was doing it right. And what was really cool with Rob is when I get on a call with him, we meet for an hour. We had 12 sessions. He would start with, what do you want to create today? That was always the first question, which then I would say, okay, I want to create a workflow. For example, this is one thing that Rob helped me with is I'm on these meetings. I have AI taking all these notes, but they're all in these different platforms and it's hard to have it homogeneous. How can I automate it in a way where we can get these AI notes into one document where then I can be a central source and repository for me? And by the end of that call, now I have it recorded with Rob, and he's literally teaching me the point and clicking, which is exactly what I need, because I'm not the guy, if you were to tell me, go read a manual and go figure out how to do this, forget about it, right? Like I'm the guy who, after Christmas gifts, it's time to assemble stuff. I just kind of go after it versus looking at the instructions, which is a huge mistake, by the way, because you can make a lot of issues for yourself. But I really, really appreciated the practical side of how you were training. Can you tell me a little bit? You've coached all these people. you've been coached by some of the best. I know you're friends with Dan Martell. What have you learned in general about the real challenges of AI adoption for the average Joe?
Well, most people are not in the game to begin with. So let's start there. They're sitting there at 0. And then number 2, it's very simple. Consistency. There's just a lack of consistency. So there's a book that changed my life by Weldon Long called The Power of Consistency. And he said, you know why most people don't achieve their dreams? It's because they just don't spend enough time in them. The average person looks at their goals once a year on January 1st, maybe. The best in the world look at their goals at least once a day. Well, the same is true with growth in AI. And this is why it is so simple. And anybody listening right now can immediately grow. Because if you're sitting there at 0, just get in your first 20 hours. Because the one word, Sandesh, that people do not realize that is the key to all success in AI is experience. Meaning you will learn more from doing than you will from theory. So we all have kids. How do you teach them how to ride a bike? Step 1, you buy the bike. Step 2, you put on training wheels. Then they use the training wheels. Step 3, you take off the training wheels and they use them for 6 months. Step 4, a year later, they're popping wheelies. The same is true with AI and ChatGPT, because the way that I say this is the more you see, the more you can see. So what does that mean? The more you experience growth and light bulb moments, or Chris, as we're talking about, the things we like or that we don't like with ChatGPT or Claude, or the nuances or the M dashes or the not this, but this, or the emojis everywhere.
Yeah.
You start to experience that. And then Sandesh, you know this, once you experience one thing of growth, you're like, oh, now I can keep doing that, because the true level up becomes systems thinking. Why? Because systems scale. ChatGPT can write you an email or build you a rocket ship to the moon. Everything in between there is capacity. So instead of writing an email, how about we think about the system for creating endless amounts of emails, and then you take that mindset everywhere? Because the thing that people don't realize is that success in AI is just about how you approach it. So for me, it's all about having a possibility mindset. So many people are coming from scarcity. I don't have enough time. I'm overwhelmed. I don't have a tech background. This is just moving too fast for me. Throw that in the trash. Instead, what if, ... Just put it into ChatGPT. And the more you do it, then eventually you catch what I call the bug. And I caught that within 1 minute, where you're like, oh my God, I can do this. I can do this. I can do this. And that bug is like, I can't stop using ChatGPT because of how fast everything is growing.
You know, you mentioned systems thinking, and I think that's central to like being successful in working with AI. Could you dig a little bit more into like what systems thinking is?
Yeah. So this is going to be another one of those things that for a large majority of the people, this is going to be a 0. And I know this because I was this person. So 2 of my mentors are Ed Milet and Andy Frisella, and I've been a part of their organization for 7 years. And one of the things they've said on calls over and over again, system scale. And I'm like, cool. I hear you. I believe you. And I've never built a system in my life. So I don't know what you guys mean about building a system.
Right.
And you know what the answer is? You build your first system. So you just look at your life in terms of what you would like to repeat. And here's the beautiful thing about AI. And side note, when I use AI or ChatGPT, it's all the same difference for what we're talking about here, is that if you can create something repeatable, you can scale yourself and you can create a consistent output. Well, that is good for growth in business. So this starts with a level of thinking on systems. Thinking is more macro versus the execution is a 1, 1, 1, 1, 1. So if you can come in from the high level and say, all right, I'm going to do this thing. So let's look at this from social media marketing, because this is a simple example. You can create one post for LinkedIn by using ChatGPT. Or you can take systems thinking and say, what is my content marketing strategy for the year on LinkedIn? Am I committed to one post a day? Cool. What are those posts about? Well, do you have a content bucket? Do you have various themes and strategies? Hey, ChatGPT, I heard that systems thinking is important for content marketing. Help me build out a simple and easy content strategy that me and my team can execute over the next 90 days in bullet points. ... So you're designing the thing that executes the micro, and then you leverage the power of consistency, and that's how you grow, and that's how you create momentum. And that is why those people and companies not using AI are about to become obsolete, because of how fast we all grow when we're thinking and designing in systems.
You give a really important insight, I think, there too, is like, if you don't know what systems thinking is, or you don't know how to design a systems, just ask ChatGPT. I mean, if you have a question, or if it says something to you that you don't understand, there's no harm in asking it, because it'll tell you. And the great thing is, you don't even have to worry about looking dumb, because you're just talking to an AI. So just go ahead and ask any kind of question if you get stuck.
Chris, here's the thing that people don't see, that not only is this not a negative, it is actually the path to everything you want. Because never in the history of the world moving forward do you ever have to wonder how to do something. Because I don't know equals a trigger for putting into ChatGPT. Because as high performers, where do we see the most growth? Our blind spots, our friction, our challenges, the things that are not working for us, or the things we don't know how to do. So there's the book, The Obstacle is the Way. What stands in the way becomes the way. Welcome to the AI era. So here's a very simple thing that I can help everybody with to remove all overwhelm about AI. Oh my God, Rob, the updates are just so fast. There's Gemini 3 and Claude and GPT 5.2. I just can't keep up with everything. Cool. So when you don't know something, take a screenshot off of social media, drop it into ChatGPT, and say, hey, I just saw this new update. I know nothing about this. Make this simple and easy for me to understand. How does it apply to me, my business, and my clients? Boom. So the path to growth is actually not knowing, because the bridge is AI. But then here's the next separator, and Sandesh, I always hammer this home with you. Our goal is not to play ChatGPT. Our goal is to turn ideas into action. Because for a lot of people, AI is a parking lot. Cool, but I didn't do anything. You only grow when you ship the work. So this is where all of these things, this is Rob, the high performance coach, coming in right now, right? We can play at AI. I can teach you how to think in AI. I can teach you how to think in systems. I can teach you signal recognition. Hey, here's something I don't know. Teach me how to do it. But if you're not doing the work, none of this matters.
Creating those outcomes is definitely key. What we're hinting on here is the educational side of AI. And Chris, I want your opinion on this too. What, in your opinion, Rob, now that you've spent all this time with AI, and you're really helping a lot of people that maybe are at ground zero, or all the way up to people that are already in it but just want to take it the next step. From an educational perspective, where do we go from here? How should people educate themselves? What is the best way to look at this? We all have children. And Chris's son probably already knows more about AI than ChatGPT does.
He's been a ChatGPT beta tester since the very beginning. So
I love it. Of course, he's your son.
He's 15. So,
Yeah, love it. But like, what do you think, Rob? Like, when we think about the next generations to come, how should they go about educating themselves on AI?
I'm going to make this nice and simple. I'm going to give the foundational element and then the only 3 options. Number 1, this is just Growth Mindset 101. So if you've not yet read the book, go and read Mindset by Carol Dweck and understand growth mindset. I can always make myself better. Fixed mindset, I'm trapped and I'm not going anywhere, right? So we on this call roll in and we're like, we all have a growth mindset. We want to grow. We want to get better. But that's kind of important because for a lot of people, they do not have that orientation. And I know this because I didn't have a growth mindset for the first 30 years of my life. So I can never assume somebody gets that. But then the next thing here, let's not over dramatize this because this is dead simple. There's only 3 ways to learn. Number 1, self-paced on your own. Go and watch YouTube videos, tutorials, blog posts. God knows I've got just loads of free content to help you every step of the journey. That's going to be a little bit slower, but it's on your own. And by the way, that's how I've learned. Number 2, you go and find an expert that is already doing it and you purchase their course. Why? Because now they're going to remove the guesswork. It's going to be faster, higher quality, and it's going to allow you to be more confident because you're not guessing. And there's a quote that I love, and this is back in the days of when I was coaching people to help launch podcasts. Uncertainty leads to inaction. If you don't know what to do, you're likely to do nothing. Well, the best way you can get certainty is just to purchase this program because now you're certainty on doing this work. And then number 3, the last thing, and Sandesh, this is what you did, just work directly with that person, right? So by yourself, self-paced with their course, or go directly to the source, and now you get to personalize it, right? Because Sandesh, many people have come into my world and leveraged my frameworks, and I love it. But then there's some people who say, Rob, I want to get down with you because I want to go faster, I want to feel the transformation, and I want to apply this to my world. There are no other options for how you can learn. So if this feels overwhelming, just ask which way do you want to go and go that way.
Chris, how about you? What do you think?
I think Rob's put out some interesting points about around just get started. I think, that's the reality is it is changing fast and it's something that's very new. 3 years ago, we weren't having any of these conversations. It's rapidly evolving. It's changing quickly. And so, you're not gonna, there's not gonna be all those, AI for dummy books and you sit around and, read, which I don't think help you a whole lot anyways. But my point is that, what Rob's saying is get out and start doing it is really important. And I think the other thing is that, realize how you can utilize it to answer all your questions. I think that's such a big part of it. And that, it is about trying to, I think the hardest part in some ways is just really Rob is kind of pointing out is trying to figure out what you want to do with it. What is it you need to get out there? What is it you're trying to produce? What is it you're trying to change? That's maybe even the hardest question to ask yourself. So that introspection piece of it, up front is a big piece of it. And then when you get that bug, that's going to continue to drive you towards that sort of continuous learning and growth mindset that, Rob talks about. And I think it, just get started. It's, I used to talk about, being getting a band together and things like that. You book the gig and then you put the band together, right? So you have something to work towards, and that's why I think having that goal and that objective of something to aim for, I think is so important.
Totally. And to that point, one of the things that Rob pointed out is ship the work. That when he said that to me, it landed because I was having so much fun, creating all these different projects on ChatGPT, asking all kinds of questions, just seeing how much I could learn it. And Chris, this, my favorite thing is when I grow, when I learn something, when I feel like there's advancements happening in my personal or professional life, I just get super, super excited. But at the end of the day, I got to ship the work. And one of the things that Rob also taught me was to dream bigger. And that was another thing because I didn't realize I was playing small. I didn't realize that the things I was using ChatGPT for were quite elementary and I really wasn't asking the right questions. So I think I think what I'm kind of highlighting is what you two just pointed out. It's you got to know what you're trying to build. You got to know exactly what it is that you want. Because if you understand that, it'll take some time, but ultimately you can get to something where you can actually ship the work. I think that's a huge, huge piece of it. I know for me, that's been the game changer. It's like, okay, no longer am I just going to, twiddle with this thing. I'm creating things and I'm using it in my life. If you can, Rob, maybe if you want to share with us, what were some of those aha moments for you, or some of the people that you've worked with? Like, what happens when one of your clients or peers or friends is like, oh, I didn't know that it can do that. What are some of those moments?
So that's pretty much every day for me. It is. And that's what I loved, especially early on. I loved watching someone's just brain melt in front of me when they're like, you can do what? I had it happen earlier today when I showed somebody Gamma in real time and they were like, what was this that you just saw? So I'm going to break this down, Sandesh, and be a yes and to what you just said, because it's going to sort of encompass all of these things, because I do go deep and high level and then simple and practical by design, because both of them are important. One of the things that's very important to me, to my success in AI, is my standard of excellence. All of what we are sharing in this conversation is a standard of excellence. So if you put yourself into AI as a high performer, as somebody who's heart-led, who wants to make the world a better place, guess what you're going to get out? That. So garbage in, garbage out, gold in, gold out. But ultimately, for me, this becomes your standard of excellence. And my standard of excellence for how I use ChatGPT can be boiled down to a simple phrase: intention by design. Most people are not intentional in how they are using it. They are more haphazard. And Chris, one of the things that you were saying that I completely agree with, I want to boil down to one word: clarity. And this is people of all levels. They just have a lack of clarity. So Sandesh, when you're talking about dreaming bigger, it's very challenging to connect the dots looking forward, but it's super easy to connect the dots looking backwards. So I want to share probably my favorite breakthrough moment that I've had in the last 6 months. And what I call this, and I share this with my clients, is impress yourself. Where my standard of excellence with AI is so good, I want to look at something and be like, damn, I can't believe I just did that. And that is actually the new standard for what we see. So I'm sitting there in Rosemary Beach, Florida with my family. It is the opening weekend of college football. We drive 8 hours from Sarasota to near Panama City. Shout out to everybody who went to Panama City for spring break. I was one of them back in the day. So everybody goes to bed early, except for Rob, because I'm watching college football. And one of my consistency practices, a habit I do every day, is visualization for 5 minutes. I've got a vision board on my phone. So I go through there and I embody and I visualize myself being there. And Sandesh, similar to what we talked about with dreaming bigger, you and I have done a lot of vision work inside of ChatGPT. But then the little light bulb went off in my head and said, hey, Rob, why have you never put an image from your vision board into ChatGPT? You've already done all the other work, the systems, the processes. Why have you never put this specific image? So speaking of Dan Martell, I was looking at a picture of a McLaren, not the entry-level one, like the $400,000 one that's like intimidating, where I'm not going to play small of like, oh, I can only envision the small one. No, give me the big baller $400,000 McLaren. You look at that thing, it's straight Batman style. I was like, this thing is awesome, right? Because I want to be the identity of the person where this is my reality. So I put this into ChatGPT. I upload the image of the McLaren, and I was like, hey, ChatGPT, I had this intuition of putting my vision board images in here, and I'm curious, how will that change and affect the output and power of my results? And I said a few other things. And what did ChatGPT respond with? Congratulations, Rob. You just opened up a brand new portal. Say hello to building as your future self now. And I was like, oh, because ChatGPT doesn't know the difference between I own this McLaren and I want to own this McLaren. So if you say, respond to me as if I am the one who already lives and drives and shows up every single day, as if I am this McLaren. And it says, say hello to McLaren mode Rob, where we will now, moving forward, respond to you as if you embody the identity, the mindsets, the habits, the routines, the business acumen of the person driving that McLaren. And I was like, oh my God. So I then took and uploaded 10 other images from my vision board into ChatGPT, because guess what all of a sudden we did, Sandesh? We compressed time. Because you know what's hard for me? How in the world am I going to create $400,000 to drive a McLaren? But you know what's simple for me? Hey, Rob, the first thing I want you to do is to create a Spotify playlist called McLaren Mode. And I want you to envision yourself driving that McLaren. And I want you to create your first 5 songs from that. So my first song was Levels by Avicii, right? So boom, I create that thing in there. And now I'm embodying this and I'm making this real. So I ran the Chicago Marathon this year. And at miles 21 to 26.2, guess what? It was hard as crap. And Sandesh, I even sent you a message while I was doing this, right? Because we're working together and I'm thinking about you. And when it got especially hard, guess what I activated? McLaren mode Rob. Because this is what somebody driving this McLaren does. So this was a long-winded way of saying we can compress time and change our identity and connect the dots backwards by having clarity of where you want to go.
You know, and you mentioned clarity, and I think that's a great point to make too, because, you know, we talked about asking ChatGPT questions, but I think one of the most powerful things you can ever tell an LLM to do is ask me any questions you need, any clarifying questions you need, any questions you need to help me solve this problem. And the great thing I find about that is it will start asking you questions that help you clarify your position, to, you know, like give it clarity to do what it needs to do. And that's a hugely valuable thing too.
All right, Chris, I am about to give the most valuable prompt that I have. And it's not a big baked prompt. It is only a few words. And here's what I want. And I want everybody to put this in your creator toolbox, right? So this is something that you're going to use every single day consistently. That speaks to what you're saying there, Chris, of the asking questions. And the prompt is, what is the hidden and non-obvious?
Yeah, it's a great one.
Right? So once again, help me see what I can't see. Because if I could see it, I would be doing this already. So no matter what you're working on, brand new ChatGPT updates, or writing a children's book, or cooking a steak, or doing whatever, you say, what is the hidden and non-obvious? ... Because I want to see what I cannot see. Because once you see what you can't see, you can then do something about it. And this is just one of, let's call it, 10 prompts that I might use on an everyday basis, like you're saying, Chris, because instead of the ask me the question, it's the help me see what I can't see. But I want to illuminate for everybody, this is actually just a way of thinking, right? You're so good at what you do that I call this creating with the invisible. You don't even know this exists. And you're like, well, the good news is AI knows it exists, and it's just going to mirror back to me a possibility. If you don't like it, throw it in the trash. But if you do like it, now we can yes and it.
What ChatGPT is going to say is they're going to say, Rob, that is fantastic. That's great that you're considering the things that you can't see.
You're absolutely right.
You are on the right track. You're doing everything correct. Those are the kinds of things that are starting to annoy me a little bit, quite honestly. I didn't think that it would, but I don't know. After a while, I just want the answer.
You feel like you're being gaslit at some point. I
so
feel you.
Do you want to know the answer to this? I've got your answer. Once again, another piece of gold. So when I write with AI, I use it more as an editor than writing, because I've got a background as a writer. So I love to write. And I'm conversational in there. Like I said, Chris, I don't know how to use semicolons, right? So I'm not that dude. So when I go into writing, I'll say, hey, ChatGPT, act as my world-class editor. Does this work? Why or why not? There is more value in the why not than the why. So Sandesh, if it keeps being sycophantic for you and always talking about, man, you're the most epic thing in the world, the key in all of this is why or why not? I want you to be my critical friend. Because remember, AI is just a king of pattern recognition. So every word matters. There's a difference between a coach and a world-class coach. And there's a difference between does this work and does this work, why or why not? Because once again, Chris, similar to the hidden or the non-obvious, I get more value on why it does not work than I do why it does work, because I want to know the holes in my boat.
Yeah. So I've got a question for everybody here. Do you say please and thank you to your AI?
I do.
I do as well, because it's who I am as a person.
Well, I mean, and it's been shown that actually AI will perform a little bit better if you are, polite and you have these sort of niceties, which makes a lot of sense because it's, taking a statistical model of language, and if you're polite and you have a reasonable discourse with someone, you're probably going to get better answers anyways. So there's a reason for it to skew better. But I always thought it was funny because some people have very strong opinions about that,
Okay, think of it this way, Chris. So everything is a fundamental for me, legitimately, because we started at zero. And Sandesh knows this one. Talk to ChatGPT like an employee, right? Because a lot of people absolve ownership, ask a question, get an answer. It's a transaction. They don't like it. Oh my God, this thing doesn't work. Versus, I'm the boss, you're my assistant. So what would you do if you had someone as your assistant? Here's the goal. Here is the context. Here's what I want you to do. And then if they come back and it's not what you want, all right, cool. Well, let's iterate and you sort of evolve from there. But when it comes to please and thank you, would you say please and thank you to an employee? I would. And this comes back to the mindset of this, right? It's not because the robots are going to take over and we don't want them to take over for us.
Well, I am saying please and thank you because I do, think they may be our overlords one day. So I'm just getting in early.
Right, it's an episode of The Simpsons.
You're already making friends with the AI.
I'm making friends with
smart.
AI, man. It's like they're going to come and get all those people who are mean to it in the beginning.
It is funny, though. That question is hilarious because I do that all the time. It's just so natural.
Yeah. Well, and we do anthropomorphize AI too, which I think is in some regards a bit dangerous as well. But you got to be true to yourself. I suppose true.
Okay, Chris, here's a little nuance for you, and I think this will speak your language. There is game behind the game in terms of how you actually structure and respond back to AI. So back to the talk to ChatGPT like it's an employee. In Sandesh, I taught you this one. When it gives me a response I like, it's almost always the same first line. Great, comma, speaking out loud. So I say the great to affirm that we're on the right page, right? Because your employee is going to go one way or another. And then I say speaking out loud because it's me letting it know I'm taking what's in my head and I'm putting it out of there. But if you do not give it any guidance on this didn't work or this did work, that will change the outputs the same way where if you do not put in line breaks, there might be a slight degradation because you're not breaking up the thought patterns. And in the grand scheme of the next decade of our business and life and using AI, Chris, you said, well, there's a slight improvement. Well, I'm in the name of growth. So if you're telling me affirming great, thank you, or please gets me slightly better answers and you're going to do it 10 million times, sign me up.
For sure.
One of the things that you also showed me very early in our coaching was using ChatGPT to create a prompt after me understanding what it is that I'm actually trying to build, but using that prompt in Midjourney or in another AI. That was just another mind-blowing experience for me thinking, well, I thought I had to stay within this application. but I can actually use ChatGPT to help me use other AI tools. I thought that was really cool.
Okay, so what I'm about to say is going to be very important for everybody moving forward. It is going to be important that you understand the creative expression side of AI. AI image, AI video, website, social media, presentations, all of that various stuff. Because Sandesh, what you just said is, I'm using Midjourney. I've never used Midjourney. I don't know what any of that stuff is. What is that original principle that we said? If you don't know something, ask ChatGPT. So you say, hey, ChatGPT, context. I want to create an image for my 4-year-old son in Midjourney of a dinosaur riding a skateboard in the Soldier Field. Help me do so in a way that lands for him, has vibrant colors, and is world class. You take that, you copy it, you paste it, you put it into Midjourney. Because guess what's on the horizon likely in 2026 more? AI video, whether you're using VO3 from Google or Kling AI. And you're going to go, how in the world do I do this? Hey, ChatGPT, I want to use Google's new video generation system. Help me write prompts for a scene about a kid riding a kid on a dinosaur in a skateboard in the Soldier Field, and make it sequential so that I can just copy and paste it into VO3. And it's like, wait, you're telling me you can create anything in one thing and put it anywhere? Yeah, because what was one of those words we were all talking about? Capacity. Everything is a possibility when you understand everything's a possibility. So you could say, help me with Go High Level, help me with Midjourney, help me with QuickBooks, help me with ChatGPT, help me with Claude, help me with anything, and it will know it. Therefore, who's the only limitation? Ourselves.
So before we get into the closing, this question is for both of you. What makes you most excited about AI today?
You want to go first, Chris?
Sure, I'll go first. I think that the pace of growth that I'm seeing from it, and you know, like I spent a lot of time talking to, you know, a lot of people in AI, you know, building a lot of these systems and things like that. And I think some of the things that are just on the horizon are really incredible. I do think that the biggest challenge that we face with AI is our social structures. You know, the things that we built in our society around us, and like the inability of those things to adapt. But I think if we can get around those challenges, I think, you know, I always keep saying we can either build a hell or a heaven for ourselves with all this stuff. And I think that if we do it the right way, we can take, you know, so much of the load off of ourselves to do the things that are really incredibly valuable to us. You know, like spend more time with family, do more art, create more music, you know, all those great things are, you know, the opportunity that we're being handed right now. And if we just do the right thing to make that happen, we can have all those things. We just have to get around ourselves. There's that one great notebook thing that somebody went into Google Notebook and fed it in, you know, all the history of all human philosophy. And one of the funny things that, and they made it into a podcast, and it was just, you know, these two AIs talking to each other on this podcast. And they say, you know, the humans are really funny. They run into a wall and then they spend 100 years discussing the wall rather than going around it. And that is so true. That is so true of our problems. So we just got to go around some walls and get to the end state here.
I love that.
Chris, I'll yes and you. There's two things for me. Number one, you said it, opportunity. This is the best time in the history of the world to make your dreams come true. It just is. There has never been a better time. And you know why I know this? Because when I graduated college from Miami of Ohio, I had a dream of working for an ad agency, and instead I was unemployed for a year and a half, living off my credit card, dead broke, and I finally got my first job at a Fifth Third Bank call center, making $10 an hour, slinging home equity loans in a cube farm with a computer with no internet access. I was Peter from Office Space, right? I was the furthest away from my dreams possible. Well, guess what? If you would have told Rob then that this is the reality you're going to step in now and you can do anything, holy smokes, Batman. And then number two, the thing that lights me up is we have the greatest opportunity to create positive impact in the world. I have a goal of helping 10 million people. And one of the things that I see with the way that I coach and lead in AI and ChatGPT is, as you said it, Chris, are we going to build a heaven or are we going to build a hell? Or in my case, are we going to create positive impact? Because the right people who are using this the right way, who truly from their heart want to help other people win and do things, man, we can create the most beautiful, amazing world ever.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I have to say that, in my career, I've, necessarily had to be the guy always like, what's the next disaster around the corner that, we have to keep our eye on. And I think that AI for me has been a very positive thing. I mean, it gives me hope, which is funny because so many people talk about it the other way. They're like, oh, I'm terrified of this and what's it going to do? And it's going to, take over all our lives and blah, blah, blah. I don't see it that way. I see this as just such an incredible opportunity for us, like you were saying, Rob. I mean, there's so much opportunity right here in our hands right now. And people just need to see it and take advantage of it.
There's a theme here, and we started with it and it's change. It's change is hard, and in this situation, if you don't change, you really are going to be impacted. I remember when, I'm sure this happened to you guys. Your parents would call you and how did, my internet went down or, my my cable isn't working or my phone is not working. Right. And then we would help them through that.
Yeah.
Like what I worry about is I don't want to be that guy where I'm calling my kids to be like, hey, how do I do this? How do I make this thing work? I want to know, and I don't want to be that person. And that's just us, right? Like the three of us, we're all about change. One of the things that we see a lot is people are just reluctant to change.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
To your point, Chris, what you said too, how many people have said to me, oh man, I'm just really worried about it, the responsibility of AI or the efficacy of AI. Absolutely. And we should be worried about it. But that is not the reason to not change. This tide is way too powerful for us to slow down, get on board and be part of what Rob says, the positive part of change, and actually impacting people and helping people.
Yeah.
You know what I like to say, Sandesh?
Yeah.
Place your bets and let the chips fall where they may. It's great for my business if you're not about AI, because I don't care. Because the three of us on this call, we are going to do it. But it is also why I feel a responsibility and an obligation to have conversations like this, because I truly want to help. And you don't got to get down like I'm getting down, but those of us who are getting down like I'm getting down, we're going to be living a certain way.
Well, there's that adage, the future's already here. It's just unevenly distributed. And I mean, your goal of helping people with it is important, because I think there are a lot of people who just don't even have access to these things, right? And it's still going to impact their world and can make their world a lot better. So enabling those things is really important as well.
And think about this, right? What Rob just said, and I know, Chris, you're a hippie yourself. Like, we want to help people. We want to be in service to people. Like that is what we want to do. I think what happens is sometimes people see this AI thing and they say, what's in it for me? How am I going to benefit from it? And if I can't benefit from it, then I don't care for it. And that's just, it's unfortunate, but I feel like that attitude of what's in it for me is just gotten so amplified, where the reason why I can tell you Rob is so successful is because he's serving. He's just creating so people can take advantage of what he's building. And just through that osmosis, now people follow him and, they're his coach, and he's doing all these things for leaders within companies. And so to that point, Rob, who is your who should be reaching out to you? Who are the people that you want to be reaching out to you? And what can you do for them?
So thank you for that. So number one, if you're barely scratching the surface with ChatGPT and you know there's so much more possible, and as they like to say, I don't know what I don't know, let's have a conversation with me. And then what I'm doing right now is, Sandesh, since you and I started working together, I'm a keynote speaker on AI. I'm doing team workshops and trainings. I do one-on-one coaching. I do group coaching. There's a lot of different levels depending on where you want to go. For me, when I'm looking at 2026, I want to get in front of more people in more stages, because when I see the three of us right here, there is nothing that would light me up more than there being way more zeros on this, from 100 to 1,000 to 10,000 to millions of people. Because when we have that message, or when we have that support there, we can truly change the world. So for those of you who vibe with this, who say, listen, I don't need to be a tech person, but I've got a vision, I've got a possibility, and I would love to be in this orbit, and I would love to have a champion for me on my side, hit me up at Rob Cressy.
Thank you so much for joining us, Rob. I was waiting for this.
And is that robcressy.com?
Well, so we've got robcressy.ai. We've got at Rob Cressy on Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, everywhere. Put it this way, I'm not hard to find, right? You just search Rob Cressy everywhere, and we have a conversation. Because here's the bow I'm going to wrap on this. Chris, this is what I love about Sandesh. When we met, I did not sell him. By design, like, we became friends literally within 3 minutes. It was like two kindred souls come together, we're vibing, and then at one point he's like, I think I need to work with you. Like, I actually tried not to sell because I did not want to be that guy, because I was like, man, me and this dude are getting along so great. In my mind, I was like, the things I could do with this guy because of how he shows up. And then he opened the door and I was like, listen, man, let's do it. And Sandesh is what I'll call a diamond client, because we did not know each other existed. We vibed immediately. We became friends. He's like, I'm interested. We closed on that call. We started the next week. Right? So that speaks to the type of person you are and why you're amazing. But more importantly, I just loved getting down with you. I was like, man, we took 15 minutes turned into an hour and 15 minutes. And we're like, I guess we have to go do our work now.
And that's what people need, man. That excitement, right? When I hang up our calls that you and I have had together and I'm learning something, I feel inspired. Like, I cannot wait to take that knowledge and actually ship something, create something. And so I hope that our audience is inspired. Like, go out there and just go figure it out for yourself. It's all within you. You have everything that you need. Maybe an internet access is probably the only thing that you
need a computer and internet access, but yeah.
But hey, Rob, thanks for helping me. Thanks for being part of the show. Thanks for being a friend. You've already introduced me to more people. I keep introducing to you to more people. And I know this is going to continue, because that is part of what all three of us are doing. You know, Chris has his 4 podcasts and he's talking to all these AI leaders. You got your thing, I got my thing. And I love it. Like, to your point, is I love getting like-minded people together that come with the right heart and intentions, right? And it's not all about me, but it's about we. It is an incredible experience. And it makes it so much more fun to learn with people than just trying to figure it all by yourself. You know, one conversation can inspire you and change you like it did for me, you know? So, Rob, thanks, man. I had a great time. Thanks for the conversation. And we will have you back again, brother.
Anytime. You're welcome.